This is a house project that I started, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. I haven't really been working on it until probably like a week ago, and I did some terraforming and stuff. Yeah, so I guess this is this house. It's not quite done yet. Still working on it. I don't know, just kind of like a passion project I've been going on and off on. I mean, I'm an architecture major, so I should be working on stuff like this, and hopefully I'm enjoying it. Um, I have a really nice landscape to work with, but it doesn't work too well with this kind of like urban looking thing, so I got that to figure out. But yeah, just a quick tour of the exterior. Here's the skylights that kind of poke through the roof. Yeah, there's a lot of inspiration for this. I watch a lot of Corrales. You might recognize some aspects of this house from some modern houses that he did, and just some other stuff that I kind of did myself. But yeah, this is a semi-creative world that used to be a server with a bunch of my friends, and we kind of stopped using this for stuff. But yeah, we were gonna build a whole bunch of stuff. We had a couple of plugins besides World Edit. It was like multi-world plugins. So we had like a creative survival hybrid, and this was our like tinkering world to build a bunch of stuff, and then kind of put that into our survival world. So yeah, I don't know what that is, but there's just some other house units that I built. Yeah. Anyway, I think we saw it on the way over. We also built several arenas for a couple game modes we had. Um, this is kind of a starting arena for us to play around on. This is like a temporary placeholder basically for us to use while I was in the middle of building this thing. And so this is our, if any of you would watch Game of Thrones, I wanted to build like a moon door arena. So, oh, the lighting's nice here. As we come in, God's blessing upon this wonderful world. This is kind of the main arena that I built for one of our mini games, and I think a lot of the paintings up here have been messed up. Actually, they're still there, but we have, if I hop down here, you'll see all this red wool. Actually, I got rid of most of it, but a lot of it was placeholders for command blocks and world edit stuff. So we would have a lot of things that happen in this map, like floor turns into lava. This moon door used to be closed and then it would open, kind of like in Game of Thrones. And then we did this thing. And this is my crude attempt at the the throne up there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. We come up here. You can do some parkour around this map if you try and like figure that out without getting killed in the middle of our mini games. Like with speed potions and jumps, you can make it probably all the way to the top of this thing. I think the farthest anyone's made it up is here somehow. I don't know how they got up here, but yeah.
So, hi, I'm Nathan, and this is my Intro to Minecraft term project. So, I built a functioning addition subtraction calculator in Minecraft. For the term project, I didn't actually build it from scratch. It is an improvement on a design I'd made a while ago, I think, back in like high school or something. But yes, I basically improved on this design for our project. Well, I compacted it first off. Like all the circuitry you see here is I fit into like this like chunk here, and then this side is the number display. So this machine is entirely designed by me. Like I didn't watch any videos or follow any tutorials or know anything about how computers actually work in real life, I guess. Which might be a bad thing actually, because I know other people have made calculators in Minecraft, and I'm pretty sure they are not like they don't require sand to run. Uh, so that's the thing. But anyways, I'll sort of demonstration. So it is a capable addition and subtraction. So for example, on addition is 26, and say we want to add a 3. Then it'll go up to 29. There we go, 29. As you see, it consumes sand as it goes. And say now subtraction. Say we want to subtract like 7, let's say. 22. Now, and it does move between decimal places. This can count up to 99. Like for example, if we add like 9 to it, this might take a bit, but it will then cycle from the 2s in this spot up to 31. I hope it doesn't understand. Yeah. So here we can see it cycling to 3 and then resetting the last place. There we go, 31. So briefly, I guess I'll go over how it works. It's split into a few chunks. So this part is the initial part that it's a machine that activates the number of times of the input. So if you input 7, it'll activate 7 times, which is relatively straightforward. And the reason for the pistons that it can actually like lock itself, in that it can like pause itself between activations. So if there's 7 activations, it can go 5. It'll get the signal to pause. It'll wait. And then after the pause signal ends, it'll do another 2. And so that's so that it doesn't like interfere with calculation happening behind. These chunks are essentially how it actually represents computation. Here you can see like the sort of the used sand that gets converted, I guess. Like if you think about it, it kind of like takes sand in block form and as a fuel product and creates sand in item form as a waste product, I guess. Is that is that a reasonable way to describe it? Whatever. But the point is, so each of these slots it's getting dark. Whatever. Each of these slots represents a each of these blocks represents like a value, and so the redstone block like moves around and keeps track of where it is to essentially represent the value. And when it reaches the end and hits overload, like past the 9 digit, it registers like, okay, I've gone up a decimal place. It sends an up or down signal to the next one, which represents the same way, and then cycles itself back to 0. And yeah, that's pretty much the computation. This chunk here is just the number display. It's just a bunch of like really dead circuitry, and shows numbers. That's pretty much it. So yeah, it was pretty fun to build, and pretty happy with it.
Yeah, so this is my project for the Minecraft Stucco. So it's basically 2 pieces of pixel art. One of Isabelle and one of Rilokuma. Uh, Isabelle is just a video game character from Animal Crossing, and Rilokuma is just a character. Uh, this starts off with a sped up version of the build process for Isabelle. So here Isabelle is completed. I cut the build process short a bit for the sake of video time. And so what I did to get these is I took pictures of Isabel and Rilakuma off the internet and then converted them to Minecraft blocks. I also made some changes from the original build process because some parts looked off. Converted some to more simpler blocks.
So this is what I did for my Minecraft final. This is my bedroom up top. It's like a little race car bed. Downstairs we have a table with seating. We have steak for dinner. You go outside. There's a little pathway with tall grass where, normally wild Pokemon would appear. And then you come across a town. On the left side we have a Pokemon health center. So this is how it looks like inside, and behind the desk we have a worker here. You can access the desk by going through there. In the corner there's a waiting area with a bunch of magazines while you wait. And on the other side of the fountain, there is a Pokemon or a Pokemart. Essentially, it's just kind of like the same thing as the health center, except in blue. So there's a worker again, and then another waiting area. And finally, if we go to the right side, we can see a giant structure. It's supposed to be like a Pokemon stadium where we have Pikachu on one side and Squirtle on the other. And they're battling each other. So I just made big pixel arts of each of those. And just to show you what it looks like from the outside again for the Pokemon Center and the health or the Pokemart. And then if we go over to this side over here, this is where I set up two different maps. So the first one shows off what I had just given a tour of. And on this side we have a chest filled with locked maps that show a kind of Game Boy kind of screen of a Pokemon game. And if we go over here, this is where I made the Pokemon map. This was a 128 by 128 full area. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.
All right, here's my final project. I decided to make a town as my final project. So here's like the town square, and then there's some houses over there. So I'll just start with the town square. So first thing I made was like a farmhouse. So upstairs is like the house, then down below is the animals and just some wheat and potatoes. And then over here we have little fish market with a villager in it. And then we have this mountain house, which is pretty cool because you can look into it from outside. There's one floor, here's another. And then I based some of these houses off of like professions. So, sorry. All right, so over here is like the cartographer. So you know, just lots of maps. There's a cartographer village over here. And yeah, upstairs, just some more stuff. And then next is the blacksmith. So, you know, just lots of cauldron stuff, or not cauldron stuff, furnace stuff, some lava and some fire here. And then here's the butcher. Just some raw meat on campfires and stuff like that. Over here is a little tiny sitting area with a campfire. And then I made a bakery as well. So, you know, just some stuff. I use looms a lot for this house. And then we've got potions. So in here I have the cleric, all this type of cool potion stuff. And then behind the painting I have a nether portal. And let's see. Yep, I have a market. It's not furnished yet, but that's just like the outside area. And I just did some other decorations by like adding trees and stuff. And then up here we have a library. This is the library. And then over here we have the armory. And I tried to make a little flag. Over here we have the Fletcher's place. So here's like where you go to like shoot arrows. And then over here is just like the interior. And over here is a pub. I couldn't really get a beer thing, so I just put a yellow bed there. Yep. Here I wasn't really sure what I was making here, so I decided to make it like a banner type of situation. And then here's a windmill. Here's like a nice little farmhouse that I made. It's kind of cool with the vines and everything on the outside. Yeah. I made like a little abandoned house. Yeah, you know, like still got cobwebs, and I used pistons to make this little cauldron type of thing. And then over here, I tried to make like a little fishing type of place. So I tried to make like a water mill and then just another like fisherman type of house. Up here is kind of like a log cabin. So I use like the spruce and acacia and dark oak. I made a church. So over here is the church. And then, yeah, here's the inside. I use like colored glass for the window. And then I made a little random house here. Yeah, I think that's about it. So here's like the whole town square. I didn't want to make it way too big, but yeah, it's sizable, I guess. All right, thank you.
All right. Hi everyone. This is my final project for the Minecraft Stuco. Yeah, so when I was younger, I really liked the Maze Runner series, and so I decided to build a procedurally generated miniature version of the Maze from the Maze Runner for my project. Yeah, so let's just spawn into our world. Yeah, and so when you first spawn into the maze, you'll spawn into this area, which is what I call the glade. And basically, it's just a clearing in the middle of the maze where you can be safe from mobs, farm and mine things, and just prepare for the trip through the maze later on. And so I modeled the layout of the glade after the real maze from the book series. And so you can see the forest here in one corner, and then the animals here in another, in a fenced up area here in another corner. But like unlike the real maze, this glade is only 100 by 100 blocks, so it is a little bit smaller than the one from the books, unfortunately. And then to get ores and stuff, you can just mine down like normally. Like even though this is like a super flat world, I configured the generator to generate ores as if it was like a normal world, so you should be able to find iron, diamonds, and stuff like that down there. Yeah, and then so here in the middle where you spawn, there's a couple of chests containing some basic supplies. Since mobs don't actually spawn in here, you can't obtain certain things, and so I added stuff like string and bones in here. And then I also removed nether portals because you can travel through the nether to escape the maze otherwise. And so like I removed all the lava and obsidian in this area. But I know that potion supplies are from the nether, so I added some potion supplies in here if you want to use them to escape. And then the other supply here just contains some basic supplies that you can use to start farming some basic stuff. Yeah, and so surrounding the maze, you'll see like these massive walls of bedrock, and they actually go all the way down to, you know, the bedrock down there. So you can't just like dig your way out of the maze because that'd be kind of cheap. And then like there's also like an invisible layer of barriers up there, and so you can't tower your way out either. And so like the only way to get out really is through the door here. And so like I know that like in the book series there's actually 4 doors, one on each wall, but I thought like that was kind of like insane. And so I just put one here, and this is like the only way in and out into the maze. And so just like in Maze Runner, the goal of this is to find your way out of the maze and to escape. And so to make things a little bit more difficult though, whenever you enter the maze, you'll actually be switched into adventure mode. So you can't break any blocks or just dig your way out. But like when you go back into the glade area, like you'll be back into survival mode, so you can break blocks as normal. And so in general, like you'd want to spend a lot of time here in the glade, basically just like farming, getting food, mining to get some armor and weapons, and also just enchanting. So like you'll be ready to find your way through the maze later on. And so just like in Maze Runner, at night some really interesting things happen. So since we're here already, let's just switch it to nighttime. Like set it to midnight, for example. And so the first thing you'll notice is that the doors to the maze will actually close. And so you basically want to try to make it inside before they close, otherwise you'd be stuck outside the entire evening. And so like the really cool thing is that just like the Maze Runner, the maze will actually regenerate itself every night. And so even though you may be able to memorize a route that goes somewhere, the next day it will be completely different from what you had, you know, the previous day. And so in fact, like the maze we currently have right here is actually procedurally generated. And so each night it will be reset and generated again. So let's just switch into spectator mode so you can see what it looks like. And here you go, like you can see it slowly carving out a new maze. And so for like some more technical background, the maze generating algorithm uses a random depth first search strategy. And so basically it will try to generate a continuous section as long as possible until it hits a dead end, which is usually like another like part of the maze or like the outside of it. And then it'll backtrack until it can find another path to take, and then continue down that path until it hits another dead end. And so it'll basically repeat that process until it finishes carving out like the entire maze, basically. And you'll notice here that while it's generating, the floor of the maze actually has command blocks on the floor, and they and the arrows on the command blocks actually point to the direction of the exit. So you know, like while it's generating, it's like a way that you can use to get out. But once it's done generating, the maze will like actually remove these and turn them back into normal stone blocks. And so normally you would have no idea where to go. And yeah, so the main problem with this strategy is that it's just super slow because it basically has to visit almost every single spot in the maze, and there's like a lot of them. And like each game tick, it can only travel one spot away. And so yeah, it's like really slow. And so you'll notice that the daylight cycle was actually paused while it's generating, as evidenced by the moon kind of just like frozen there right now. And like only when the maze is done generating will the daylight cycle actually resume. So yeah. And so like since this takes so long, I think I'm gonna speed it up probably when I'm editing the video. But I'll just stay here so you guys can see what it looks like while it's generating. Yeah, and so that took quite a bit of time, but it finished generating the new maze. And so since we're up here anyways, basically, like you'd have to enter the maze here and then find your way eventually around to the exit over here, which is all the way over there in that corner right there. But yeah, so let's just enter the maze for a quick look. Let's probably exit spectator mode first. Yep. So it's completely different from before, and it's a fresh new maze that was just generated by our algorithm. So basically, now the question is like, what happens if you're stuck outside the glade when the doors close, right? And so what happens actually is that the doors close as usual, except the maze will actually not regenerate. And so like you may think that this is actually an advantage, but to make things more difficult, every 500 ticks, 2 wither skeletons will actually spawn nearby you. It doesn't sound too bad initially until like you realize like just how terrifying it is to have them chase you like in a dark maze at night, like, by yourself. Yeah, see, like, do you hear that? That is not a good sign. I don't know. Okay, now I'm kind of lost. So yeah, anyways. And so you basically have to survive the entire night until the morning, which is when the doors will open again, and then you can go back into the glade. But if you do end up dying during the night, I'm not that cruel. You'll actually just respawn back inside the glade, with all your inventory intact. So you should be okay. And so if you eventually do find your way out of the maze, through this entire path somehow all the way over here to this corner, you will find yourself, so this is the exit path right here. Oh, I want to be in the roll. Oops. You will end up in this building. And so when you first enter it, you can see on the left side is a series of command blocks. And these command blocks are actually the ones that implement the maze generating logic. And so let's just go take a look at them. Right, go inside here. I'm checking them out. So the first chain right here is actually responsible for basically just filling in the maze. And basically, like, it just fills it in using cracked stone blocks, so our next algorithm can actually start carving out the paths in the maze. And then this, like, it'll trigger the second chain here, which basically just spawns in our armor stand, which is what you use to keep track of like exactly where we are while generating the maze. And then this will trigger this third chain here, which is the part that actually does the part of carving out the maze using our depth first search algorithm. And so the overall algorithm here is actually based off of a YouTube video that I watched. But I had to like rewrite the entire code basically because it was like for an older version of Minecraft, I think before the command block like chain or something like that. And then so this chain will trigger this final chain here when it's done, which basically just removes all the armor stands in the maze and then also replaces the command blocks you saw earlier with stone blocks. And it'll also open the doors and set the time back to morning, so you know the person in the maze can go out and try to explore again. Yeah, and then the other 3 chains right here, or yeah, 4 chains really here, are responsible for the logic for if you're outside the glade at night. So basically, like they spawn the wither skeletons and then move them next to you to make it more of a challenge, basically. And then so to trigger this all during daylight, like day and nighttime, we have a daylight sensor on the roof, which you can actually see right here. And so it has a redstone going all the way down here, going into this block, which when it receives an impulse from, let's try to clear it first. Okay, yeah, so this signal comes into here, and it will actually be inverted by here. So these 2 redstone torches will turn on at night, and then they will trigger these 2 blocks. This block is responsible for triggering the entire maze generating algorithm if the player is inside the glade, and then this one is responsible for triggering the wither skeleton generating, spawning stuff if you're outside the glade. So yeah, so that's basically all the command blocks that are involved in this, and then these 2 right here are just responsible for changing us in and out of survival and adventure mode inside the glade. And so, anyways, let's go back to pretend that we just got out of the maze. I'm gonna go to the class here, into this hallway. And then so, when they first enter this building, they can see all the stuff there. You can go upstairs into this hallway. And so I tried to mimic the layout of the laboratory from the Maze Runner, you know, like the futuristic look, but I kind of ran out of time, so I didn't really have much time to make it look nicer. And so you can see that these first two rooms contain, oh, they're supposed to contain prototypes, but I think they despawned. Oh no. Anyways, they're supposed to contain like skeletons and zombies to like pretend that like they were like prototypes for like the wither skeletons that were chasing you inside the maze. But yeah, that clearly didn't happen. So yeah. So anyways, continuing on the hallway, you can see a room, and this is supposed to be like the monitoring room for the maze, where like, you know, they can monitor people inside the maze. And so these are supposed to be like workstations for people, like, you know, a desk and a computer. I couldn't figure out how to do a computer, and so I kind of just gave up on that. And then in the middle is like a map of the maze. It's not actually detailed enough to help you figure out where to go. Like, you'll notice that this is like kind of just blurry. But it shows like just how large the maze actually is, though. So I think it's pretty cool. And then so finally, going down to the end of the hallway is the kill switch for the maze, which is our ultimate goal to reach. So when the switch is flicked, it actually prevents the maze from regenerating at night and also spawning wither skeletons. So you've basically finished the maze at this point. I originally wanted to have like something else here, like teleporting us to somewhere else maybe, but like again, I kind of ran out of time, so that's just kind of the end. But yeah, so that's pretty much the maze. I hope you liked it, and just thanks for watching.
Hey guys, welcome to my term project. So I decided to make this pixel art, and this is obviously TSM, and this is TSM's logo, but I did edit it to look like 0 and 6 because that was their score at Worlds 2020, their League of Legends team. They performed really poorly, and I made this as a meme to them because this logo truly fits them. It's made in creative, super flat, and yeah, that's my term project. Thank you all for watching.
Hello, this is my Minecraft final, and my Minecraft final was to make a UA arena from the anime and manga My Hero Academia, and today we're showing off the fight between Todoroki and Deku, seeing with the ice attack here and Deku being there. The UA arena itself will show off its the fighting arena as well as the stands, seeing the big TVs off to the upper sections. Shoutouts to my roommate for being able to teach me how to do world edit a little bit better and a little bit more substantiated. The arena is actually a 1-to-1 scale, so this circular arena was a large pain to make, as it had to make the stages back from the center in half increments, which means I had to do that 150 times in order to make a 75 depth arena, but thankfully it was all worth it with the notion of our little fans in the stands and the sectioning up above and the TVs up above as well. I also really like the booth that is, I believe, over here, and the fire pits that show off the UA arena. And then we have the UA emblem as well, and then the booth behind where Samantas would have sat. And then we can zoom out a bit to just get the full breadth of how big this is. It's a little bit big in the sense of rendering standpoints as well. So yeah, this is my project. It took about 20 hours to build, and my roommate did help a little bit as she knew a lot more about the mods and how they work mechanically than I did. But yeah, that's my project. Thanks for watching.
Hello, this is Erik Feldmann and Yousef Hassen's final project for the Minecraft Studio class. And Yousef and I decided to go ahead and recreate Episode 8 of Star Wars' battle scene, the Battle of Crait. And the first thing that we worked on was these AT-AT walkers. Very beautiful, a lot of work put into these. Lots of detail too, just like lots and lots of nice little details. You can even enter the AT-ATs, each and every one of them. Here at the top, you got a trap door, and you can look over at the rebels. There you can see the rebel base in the distance, and the speeders coming towards the walkers. That is not all that we did on this server, although, because we also have these rebel speeders that are flying towards the walkers. And one of my favorite parts about this movie's scene is the red dirt that gets kicked up from these speeders flying towards the walkers, which I think is a really cool touch, which we managed to add just by adding some clay behind the speeders. Pretty simple design for the speeders, trying to be as faithful as possible to the movie, where the cockpit's over on the left-hand side of the speeder, from the speeder's perspective, and the engine and the wing to balance on the right of it. If we move further along, you can see the rebel base here, which is just a pretty average cave that we built, that the rebels would hide out in. But when you go behind, in the back, you can see an escape ship for the rebels to escape from the First Order in, which is slightly not faithful to the movie. I decided to go with an X-Wing here, even though I think the movie uses some other random ship, but X-Wings are cool, so I decided to go with that. And it's a pretty simple X-Wing, but overall, still a good bit of work that was put into it. And yeah, I think that basically sums up our whole build here, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, I'm Kevin Stiles, and today I will be showing you my final project for the class 98205 Intro to Minecraft. My final project is a massive kelp farm with an attached super duper smelter, as I call it. I have a lot to show, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to flick this lever to start the kelp harvester as a warning, which it'll cause an intense lag spike. Hopefully it won't be too bad because the kelp was harvested not too long ago. But I'm going to flip this lever and then talk a little bit while the frames chug along. So this project was built 100% in survival mode, and it was all my own design. So I'm quite proud of what I was able to come up with. Now there's some strange consequences of some design choices I've made, but for the most part things work pretty intuitively. And I'm going to walk through the whole process of how everything happens and how it works throughout this video. So as we can see here, there's a flying machine going along the bottom of this large tank that is knocking off the tops of all these kelp plants. The kelp is floating to the top of this large tank, and is going into a water stream on the side where it gets picked up by this water elevator. I'm going to turn off this lever so that the flying machine does not go out again. Now, if we follow the kelp up the water elevator, we'll find that it reaches this top section up here, where it just kind of goes around and around and around. This is a system that takes the kelp and automatically smelts it using smokers. There's a total of 32 smokers here. And the kelp that comes up the water elevator runs right along the seam between two hoppers in each row, so the kelp can get picked up evenly. When the kelp has come all the way down these rows of hoppers, and the actual condition is anytime this last hopper here has kelp in it, then the smelting system automatically starts, and it launches a minecart, which comes along and fuels all of these smokers with one piece of fuel, which of course is a dried kelp block. We will see it launch in just a moment. For now, we can just enjoy the view of watching the kelp go around and around and around in loops. It's quite satisfying to watch. On a full harvest, this kelp farm will produce about 13,000 kelp items. On this particular harvest, it's probably significantly less because I didn't let it grow all the way up. If you let it grow all the way up, you'll actually see it grows all the way up until just before the start of the water stream at the top that flows into the sides. And we'll see here, boom, just in time, the smokers get refueled. That is controlled by this hopper clock here that has just the right amount of items in it to make sure that these furnaces are refilled with dried kelp blocks exactly when they need them to waste as little fuel as possible. So, when this kelp is automatically smelted, it comes down into these chests that are all along the top here, and we can then turn that dried kelp into dried kelp blocks by standing here and turning on the lever. And we have a quick crafting system, so you can just keep your crafting window open, and as your inventory fills, once we get 9 full stacks here, we can make a full stack of dried kelp blocks, and then just toss it out of our inventory. And when we toss it out of our inventory, it goes into a water stream here, which carries it along and up another water elevator, goes up to the top, where it then fuels both the kelp smelting system as well as the super duper smelter. And the super duper smelter is over here. I've already loaded it up with a ton of netherrack, so I'm just going to start it up. And as we can see from here, we have 2 minecarts that come along. There's one in the back there, it's a little hard to see, but that one's adding fuel to all of these furnaces, whereas this top one is adding items to smelt. We'll see all the furnaces start up here. There we go. There are 128 furnaces in total, which means that the super duper smelter smelts a full stack of items every 5 seconds, or more accurately, it smelts 2 stacks of items every 10 seconds because furnaces take 10 seconds to smelt an item. And once those items are smelted, they get ejected into this water stream down here, where they're funneled along over here into a collection system where you can see them running along the back. And they automatically get funneled into whatever the most available chest is down here. Now, it's not like a perfect distribution where it's like the very first items always end up in the bottom chest here, before then filling this one and this one. But that's just because of the sheer number of items coming through. It's just hard to make it too organized. But to help you keep track of things, any chest that has items in it will have a lit lamp next to it automatically. So that's pretty much the full details of my final project. That is the massive industrial kelp farm, plus an attached super duper smelter. I'm Kevin Stiles. Thank you for watching.
Hello, my name is Fanny,
Hi, I'm Josh.
and this is our Minecraft project. For our project, we decided to recreate Uncle Iroh's tea shop in Avatar, which is called the Jasmine Dragon. And this is my first time playing Minecraft, and it was really interesting to see the differences between creative mode and survival mode, and to learn about the different ways in which you can edit a Minecraft world with fill commands. And it was also interesting to not have to manage my resources for the first time, since we did this in creative mode.
Yeah, so I would consider myself a Minecraft veteran, I guess, even though I haven't played in a while. And I don't think I've ever built a project on this large scale before, because I used to mainly do survival world creations, and so working on a project like this was more time consuming than I thought it would be, especially because we didn't use any external mods. Yeah, similar to Xtoba, I also learned how to use fill commands properly. I knew about the existence of them, but never really used them on a large scale project like this. And it was very interesting seeing the differences between survival mode and creative mode building. It's just some things still require a lot of creative expression, whereas some other things, which would be really time consuming in survival world, were relatively easy and a lot less time consuming in general in creative mode. And yeah, that was it was an interesting experience. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, do you want to just I'll just go around and just look at the whole building. So it's not too complicated, but I think it fit our, I guess, vision. And if you look at the picture on the bottom left, that's what it's supposed to look like, and this is how it turned out. We also have 2 screenshots showing work in progress images. It was actually taken at relatively the same time, the 2 work in progress pictures, and they both show us building the foundation first, which we later amended to be slightly bigger and also include other features. And yeah, I think that's about it for our Minecraft final project. Thank you.
When I started this, I was feeling in the Christmas spirit, so I made a little Christmas village. Right here we have a church, Christmas tree in the middle, an ice rink, a little house over here, and an igloo. Over here we have a gingerbread house and a couple of decorations here and there. Some candy canes. Okay. So this place is complete if we make it snow a little bit. Okay, so let's take a little tour. Sorry. This is a church. We have a nice fireplace in here. Okay. And here's our ice rink. Not much to see there. Giant present here. Here's our gingerbread house up close. And last but not least, we have a little polar bear enclosure inside the igloo. And yeah, quite proud of this Christmas tree here. All right. Thank you.